Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Brother Tim, and this morning I just got a drop of wisdom, a nugget to share with everybody. Hope everybody's doing well, especially in light of everything going on. But today I want to talk to you about something's kind of heavy in my heart. I just want to share something with you. We're going to talk about briefly opposing viewpoints and how that can be actually detrimental to society, and how actually we find there's a situation in the Bible where somebody had an opposing viewpoint and he went against the grain, and he was pretty much ostracized for it. And we're going to talk about Nicodemus briefly in John chapter 3, where Nicodemus was a Pharisee, and most people know that Jesus and the Pharisees, they kind of clashed a lot because Jesus had a different, he was challenging the Pharisees and the normal culture of the Jews at the time. And Nicodemus was intrigued by the teachings of Jesus to the point where he had actually went to Jesus in chapter 3 by night to inquire to Jesus about some of the things that he was talking about. Now, the reason why Nicodemus had to do that by night, because he feared the social groupthink of the Pharisees. But that still did not stop him from thinking outside of the collective of Pharisees, and which is one of the greatest rights that we have as human beings, that God has instilled to us. With their being in or out of the Constitution, not is irrelevant, but the freedom of thought and the power of having your own opinion is a God-given right. God does not force anybody to even accept the doctrine of the understanding of the gospel of Jesus Christ. He gives everybody that right and that freedom to do so. So freedom of thought and freedom of opinion is something that we have inherently. However, when we automatically stigmatize somebody because they believe or act certainly different from the collective and they're ostracized, that's not right. America at this point, everybody's heard the term I don't judge. But what I want to say is that this election was successful in proving that America does in fact judge, because you find that on either side of the voting camp, everybody assumes that if you're voting for Trump, you must be a racist, or you're ignorant, or you just think he walks on water and Trump glows in the dark. And if you vote for Biden, you're an extreme radical liberalist and yada yada yada. And that's wrong. The only way we can deal with differences is actually have an objective conversation in which both parties, their concern is not really to convince the other person to believe along with their beliefs, but a rational conversation to allow two opposing thoughts to discuss objectively what they believe or their rationale of their thinking, without being offended because the other person thinks or believes contrary to their own. I started driving for Uber recently because I need to fill some gaps in my income, and this young lady got in the car, and she had some drinks already, and she expressed that she was full of anxiety, and I asked her, like, what's wrong? And she's a white girl, and she broke down. She almost sounded like she was on the verge of tears. She's like, I can't believe that 50% of the country is full of racists. I can't believe that there's so many racists in this country. I was like, please elaborate. Like, what do you mean? And so she was telling me that in her understanding was legit, that everybody that voted for Trump was a squared up racist, and that that Trump supporters were white supremacists and all this other stuff. And I like these kind of conversations because it's important for us to understand the differences of thought of the other person or the other party or the other culture, because that's the only way unity can actually come about. Because unity doesn't always mean that we're walking in the same direction. Unity can just be the opposite, the absence of conflict because of our differences. Let me say it one more time. Unity doesn't always mean that we're all doing the same thing. Unity is the absence of conflict due to differences. To me, that's unity. Our Constitution allows us to have opposing views, and we're allowed to vote according to our beliefs. But what it does not allow, and what we are supposed to pride ourselves in, is not stereotyping the other person. However, what I've found in this election is that a majority of Americans have stereotyped the other category of either being a supreme racist or a supreme liberalist, and that's very much far from the truth. Anyway, back to my story with the girl. And so I just let her talk, and so she said, "Oh my God, you voted for Trump?" It was that night, and I said, "Yes." She's like, "Why did you do that?" Like, how can you? And it's her reaction was sincere, but it made me realize that she did not understand. And I don't bias against her at all, but she had no idea why. And that's fine. You don't have to understand why. But I like to say this, and the goal of the conversation from my standpoint was not to convince her that Trump was an amazing dude. Because truthfully speaking, I don't think he's an amazing dude just because I voted for him, and I'll get to that later. By the way, this video is not about trying to sway one person to the other. This video is about how we need to respect each other's opposing viewpoints, because that's what's causing the most division, not this supporter or that supporter. The division comes from when we stereotype one another and we hold to our own beliefs versus trying to figure out why the other person voted for the other guy. And okay, I see why you voted for Biden. Okay, I understand why you voted for this person. That doesn't mean that I'm going to necessarily change my political standpoint, but at least I can come to a rationalization or a mutual respect. That's the goal of the conversation, is a mutual respect. So towards the end of the ride, I was like, let me make something clear, because she wasn't really understanding. So let me make something clear. I don't like Trump. I can't stand him. He is a bigot. He's a racist to a degree. I really can't tell, because I've seen a lot of information on both sides. Because at one point in the 90s, every rapper, every black star had their hands wrapped around them. And I've seen pictures and stuff where he was having great times with a lot of black celebrities. But all of a sudden, they don't like him. Let that be. I told her, I said, I don't vote based upon my feelings. And I don't vote based upon the fact that I agree with everything that he's done. There are policies that he has done. There are decisions that he has made that I highly support. However, I rarely support how he got it done. And when she understood that, and one of the key things is I'm a pro-lifer. And some of the things that believers kind of, I'm going to drop this nugget in there. There's only one thing that Jesus says he hates. He said that he hates hands that shed innocent blood. That's going to be a major voting point for me, because if God said he hates something, that means I should hate it too. I mean, I'm his disciple, right? So there's a whole lot of stuff, but nevertheless, people have their own opinions and their own thoughts on why they do stuff. And before we come to rationalization and judging the other person based upon our own beliefs of the other person or the other side, why don't we have conversations that allow us to understand versus be completely biased and hypocrite when we say that we don't judge? Because actually, at the end of the conversation, I won her respect. I didn't win her vote. I don't need to win her vote. But I shattered her stereotype that every Trump supporter believes that he walks on water and that every Trump supporter is a racist. Now, just because there's some crazy people out there that support Trump and they are racist, don't mean that we all are. It's just like every Christian is not going to wear a white hood and go hang black people, because they do say that they're the pure white Aryan Christian race. So if I'm a Christian, does that mean that I'm a Klansman? Absolutely not. Same thing with Muslims. You don't have every Muslim going out there with AKs shooting up everybody with bombs strapped to their chest. So that's also a stereotype that's also jacked up and messed up that we have to get rid of. Another conversation I had with somebody who was active duty in the military, in the Army. It's a very close friend of mine. His name was Steve. And we were out at a bunker that we had created. And he was talking to me about why he believed and he wore the Confederate flag. That was a really great conversation, and truthfully, it did not end our relationship. It only made it stronger because I understand where he was coming from. Did I agree with it? No. But I understand where he was coming from. So America, if we're going to see unity, we can't expect unity to come from the presidency. It cannot come from the government. It comes from us not hating or biasing our neighbors just because they believed or they voted contrary to what you voted. We can't do that. That's stereotype. That's disunity. And if anything, that causes a greater division than anything else. And as far as this voting, election, fraud stuff that's going on, if you actually look at a Google map of the electoral votes by county, anybody that passed primary school can tell that that map is 80% red and 20% blue. But hey, let it be as it is. The system is the system, and I'm gonna let that go, and we'll see what Biden does with his lead. And I have other stuff to say about that, but I'm not going to, because that's not the purpose of this, and my job is not to sway you to like or support Trump, or either way. The purpose of this video is to help people understand that we can't fall into the fallacy of stereotyping somebody else because they voted differently. So that's just how that goes. But you have a blessed day. My name is Brother Tim. These are just my thoughts. I'm not going to respond to any comments that have anything to do with fighting, or because, like I said, my goal is not to win or persuade anybody on either side. But hopefully people will see this and be able to have some kind of dialect, just because you have different opinions and different views. Don't segregate somebody just because they voted for the opposite party. Don't think that they are blind to certain things because maybe they see something differently that you just may not. God bless you all. You have a great day. My name is Brother Tim. Y'all stay wonderful.